going to call the meeting to order. Sorry, special meeting of the Board of Aldermen is called for a Performing Arts Committee update. Meeting is Tuesday, February 26th at 7 p.m. in the Aldermanic Chamber. Prayer will be offered by City Clerk Patricia Pietzu, and Alderwoman at Large Shoshana Kelly will lead us in the pledge to the flag.
Almighty God, we have the high honor and serious duty to manage the affairs of our beloved city. Fill us, O God, with a spirit of unity and understanding, which enables us to face our multiple problems with a serene mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will always be for the betterment and greater happiness of all our fellow citizens. So help us, God. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Present.
Alderman Gidge. Alderman Harriet Gathright.
Present.
Alderman Dowd.
Present.
Alderman Clee.
Here.
Alderman Laws. Alderman Lopez.
Here.
Alderman Karen.
Here.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Here.
Alderman Jettie.
Here.
Alderwoman Malizi Gola. Alderman Tenza. Alderman Schmidt.
Here.
Alderman Wilshire.
Here.
We have 12 members present. I'll record Alderman Laws.
Thank you. Alderman Gidge is unable to join us this evening. Also in attendance this evening are His Honor Mayor James Donchis and Corporation Counsel Stephen A. Bolton. Tonight we are having a presentation, our status update on the Performing Arts Center with Director of Economic Development, Tim Cummings. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, for the record, Tim Cummings, Director of Economic Development. So, thank you for providing me with an opportunity to give you a brief overview and status update as to where the Performing Arts Center stands as of today. The last time I was before you was on January 22nd, where I spent a bulk of my time reviewing and updating the board on the design-related elements of this project. Below, I have outlined in bullet point form various new developments since the last time we met. Architectural design continues to progress. We concluded programming with a majority of the decisions made and have begun schematic design, which will last approximately 8 weeks. We are approximately 2 weeks within schematic design. At a meeting on February 13th, the architect and the design team presented an update as to how the current program is unfolding. There are steering committee meetings scheduled for every Wednesday from now until May, unless otherwise stated. The meetings are in room 208 and go from 5 to 7 p.m. The next meeting is tomorrow, and we will begin having a lengthy discussion about schematic design. You have a packet before you, which has the February 13th architectural presentation. I will go through it in very quick overview like I did last time. My goal this evening is to just give everyone a brief update. A robust dialogue or questions I'm hoping will occur at the steering committee meetings, as that's where we have the time set aside for such conversation. But with that being said, I wanted to also provide you with an update relative to where we stand with the new market tax credit financing. So since we last met, what we refer to as a project narrative, or essentially what is an application, has gone out to 12 community development entities. These entities are the type of organization that the U.S. government, particularly the U.S. Treasury, recognizes as having the authority to give out new market tax credit allocations. 8 of the 12 CDEs, or 66, responded with some form of interest, but a lot of the folks that we have spoken to have asked us to wait a little bit, as we are very early on in their process. We have 2 site visits set up with 2 groups interested in the new market tax credit to tour the 201 Main Street for the end of March. And something I just want to make sure I note is it has now become official, and I alluded to this the last time we met. The U.S. government shut down will affect the new market tax credits. Formal communication came from the U.S. Treasury and was released earlier this month, outlining that the new market tax credit allocation will be delayed. This is just an item I wanted to make sure folks were aware of. It was obviously beyond our control. I included the official communication in the packet this evening. And then lastly, the Capital Campaign Committee continues to meet regularly. They have just started to enter the solicitation phase. I am currently actively applying for a New Hampshire CDFA tax credit. That program is open for applications until March 8th. And then we are reaching out to local businesses with the hopes that they will get involved with the Performing Arts Center project. That outreach is just starting in earnest now. So that's just a quick overview as to where we are as of today, and I look forward to providing you with an additional update on March 26th. So I'm just going to quickly go through. Here's the schedule for folks so they can see the schedule. Here's the communication from the U.S. Treasury, where it specifically outlines that the announcement of allocations for the calendar year 2018 New Market Tax Credit Program application round will be delayed. The CDFI anticipates the application awards announcements will occur during the spring of 2019. So we hope that stays true. So I'm going to just quickly walk you through the presentation that was given on February 13th, and where I can outline some of the changes that have occurred as design has progressed and from what you most likely last knew. This design has changed since I was before you on the 22nd of January. So the group of designers met with the steering committee, and they solicited feedback relative to various issues of concern and operations, and they distilled essentially 23, I believe, 22 comments that they needed to get further definition or clarity from the group on, which helped us in developing the program. And what you see before you today is essentially the program that has been substantially decided upon. So this is the basement floor level. It's mainly empty. This would be, for the most part, storage space. Just to orientate everyone, we have West Pearl and then Main Street on either side of the building. This would be your two-story retail building, formerly Alex Shoes, that we refer to as 201 Main Street. Here's the second structure that would be in the rear. That's the four-story building, and it does the back of the house support for the retail. So this is mainly open. You'll have some gallery space of approximately 2,000 square feet in the basement. There's some restrooms. You have what still needs to be decided on is possibly a trap room, general storage, a green room, and then ancillary support, mechanical rooms, dressing rooms, elevator, stairs for code compliance and whatnot. And then on the first floor, you'll mainly see that, again, Main Street is right directly to the east, a lobby, the audience chamber, which takes up a bulk of the main first floor of the retail building, the stage being essentially at the beginning of the new structure, that secondary structure, that four-story building of about 2,000 square feet, ancillary support services to support the back of the house as an envelope around the stage, and then possible ancillary support services for the front of the house, catering, possibly a lounge area, concessions, box office, and whatnot. Something to note, when we first started the discussion, there was this concept of maybe having a restaurant or some ancillary retail around the perimeter of the building. As they continued along with design, they realized that we wouldn't be able to accommodate the type of performing arts center that we were looking for with the amount of square footage available, restrained to that specific use. So unfortunately, we weren't able to include some of those ancillary uses in the program as the design developed. So still have some aspects of it, but not everything that was outlined in the original concept plan that I spoke of back in January. Continuing on, just to give folks an idea, to reiterate, we're still having a flexible venue. Still will be able to be an event and function center type space, still be everything that was outlined in the feasibility study in terms of function. So this is a design that can show you what tables and chairs could be, which gets you somewhere around 250 to maybe as many as 300 seats from a chair and seating type of layout. So again, back of the house wraps around, nothing really changes. This is just another example of how the first floor could be laid out. Relative to the second floor, just want to make sure I hit upon this. Looking to have an open air type concept in the lobby area. So that's, and then with what would be considered like a balcony above it, which would give additional space for processing of people. That would be on the second floor. Then you have the seating, which I want to just make sure it's clear that this type of seating and this type of format would be the telescopic seating, which is seating that can retract and would retract into the back wall that would be essentially right here, this area right here. So when you enter into the theater, you'd enter in and sort of like when you go into a movie theater, you can either go left or you can go right. And there's a big wall that would be right here. So I just want to say that so folks have an orientation of what we're talking about. And this is a little less than, I believe, 500 seats that you'd have right in here. And then you'd have another row of seats, possibly, flexible type setup of approximately 50 seats. That could be tables and chairs, or it could be just standing room. We'll continue having that conversation as we design the project. Here's the third floor. So how we arrive at that 750 seats that we've all discussed, this is where the balcony would be for that 240 seats, approximately right here where the balcony is, which would overhang the theater audience chamber and have sight lines to the stage. There's this idea of possibly having some sort of outdoor space on the roof right here, which would be completely accessible, which again would just give another space for congregating and processing of people. And then lastly, you have the fourth floor, which is, this is the complete audience chamber, which the roof would be essentially raised up to meet the back of the house, which we need to have for the fly support, which is, what you need to do to be able to have stage type productions. And then you'd have the ancillary rooms around the envelope of the stage, which could be used for multi-purpose room or administration type offices. This is just a site plan that we did to lay out to make sure that what we were designing was within the property lines. This is just a picture of the back of the house, something that we should make sure we keep in the forefront of our mind, which is all the site work that may be necessary that we're going to have to work with, whether that's on Pearl Street or this is technically Garden Street right here. And so we're going to have to just keep in mind all the differing issues that we're going to have to work through with the utility companies and whatnot. So this is just an existing conditions type outline, shows you the building. So here's just if we were to look at this like from like the side, like a cake, if you were looking at this as like a cake view, this would be one of the options that we would be looking at basically creating. It gives you an idea of what the stairs would be like, and they would retract in, the balcony seating, which would be permanent. This is the stage area right here. Is an example of just some ideas so you can kind of see what type of aesthetic we're talking about. Here's how this exact same site could look if it was curved and the seatings were curved, and that's still a decision that needs to be made. The designers wanted to get the feedback of the room as to what their preference would be. Some more details and whatnot need to be given to the group before a decision is rendered, but it is something that the group was interested in further exploring. So there is a possible outline that you could see of curved type seating, which obviously could be a preference because it helps give you better sight lines to a stage. One thing I will note, you don't lose any functionality with doing it curved. You would still be able to do everything as originally outlined in the feasibility study. But it is an option that is being explored. So this is just kind of some examples as to how that balcony and stage floor seating references that. Again, similar, just a illustrative example. Another example of how this could potentially look. Here's an outline of what the massing would look like for the exterior, so people have an idea of what the visual would look like outside of the Performing Arts Center, and you're essentially seeing an addition on top of the Alex Shoe building, like this. So that would be this area right in through here, just to kind of give folks some context. Here's what it could look like if there was a little curve to it, just again to help give the group some context so they can see what is evolving. So the schedule, just very quickly, we are now in the schematic design phase. We are on schedule, and we will be in the schematic design phase for the next, again, 6 or so weeks, looking to wrap that up in mid-April. Once we have the schematic design fully vetted, we'll actually have some real good cost estimate numbers to work with to be able to move the project forward. So that was just a quick update I wanted to provide you all. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions they want to ask? We have a few minutes. Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you. Mr. Cummings, I was intrigued when you said straight seating and curved seating. In curving the seat, do we pick up more square foot area for attendance? Is there a benefit between the two?
There is a couple benefits. I don't believe necessarily you would pick up more seats, but my understanding is the seating may be better. You'd have your sight lines in particular would improve. That is one of the biggest benefits if you were to move in this direction. Okay. And that's something that still needs to be vetted out, and the group is going to actively engage in this conversation tomorrow night.
And I do have just one quick follow-up. I'm glad you mentioned Garden Street, and there's a pedestrian walkway there. But large venues like this, you're going to need trucks coming in with equipment, and that's a loading dock is being taken into consideration there and everything?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Alderman Clee.
In commentary about the curved seating, after the meeting that we had, they gave us a website to go and look at curved seating. I think one of the biggest things that it could be expense, but the warmth and the samples that I was able to find online truly made it a much more inviting kind of atmosphere. And I personally think it's a really good idea. But cost is going to be what helps push everything too.
If I may, it makes it look like seating, not like a gymnasium.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly.
Alderman Lopez.
I actually had two questions. The first was just to clarify, you had said that there's a delay in the release of the new market tax credit material, but that by and large, we're still way ahead of the game. So do you think we're on target to meet our fundraising goals as outlined in the ordinance?
So I don't think I'm not sure where the way ahead of the game is coming from. We submitted our
Presentation, it said several people had not expressed interest yet because we were very early in our
submittal.
submissions. Yeah.
Yes. So our work in terms of submitting for lack of a better word, our application is early for them. That is just the process. The CDFI, which runs the New Market Tax Credit Program on behalf of the U.S. Treasury, just made this announcement on February 12th that there's a possible delay in any type of allocation for, not possibly, there will be a delay for the New Market Tax Credit allocation for this spring. I don't believe it necessarily at this point in time will dramatically affect our schedule, but I wanted to reference it just today as a possibility that could occur. I brought it up in January as well when it was just something that I thought was being hinted at. It's now been officially said. We do have a self-imposed deadline on the bond that was approved. I don't think we necessarily need to do anything today to change that deadline, but I wanted to make everyone aware of that. There's this possibility that the new market tax credit allocation, I had always told the group, would most likely be available in the spring. It's possibly going to be delayed. I don't know how long.
Right, and that's just something we all have to be aware of and be thinking about.
That's right.
The other thing was for handicap or mobility impairment accessibility, are they still coming in off of Main Street?
So this will be designed completely to meet ADA accessibility codes. That question came up specifically at our last meeting. There will be a couple entrances, egresses, both on Pearl and Main, that will have to be handicap accessible, as well as the seating designed to be ADA compliant.
I just don't want people to have to be wheelchairing around Main Street in the snow.
Yep, nope.
All set. Alderman Dowd.
I may have missed it, but I didn't see you mentioning elevators.
Sure. Yep, I didn't call them out. I might have referenced them as ancillary support, but I know that this is an elevator right here.
Okay.
So that is a concept that is being outlined right now. And actually, so to that point, I'll just want to make sure that I'm explicit on this. This darker blue actually would be in addition to the building that is being discussed right now. So basically, right now, and we can't use the current elevator. The current elevator is right about here, what would be center stage. So we would have to remove that elevator. And there's been some differing, again, this has been an evolving conversation. There has been some thoughts of maybe having the elevator just, in this area where I am highlighting on the screen, which could be a possibility that still comes to fruition. But what was recently decided, and we'll do an analysis to see what the cost is, but if we could move it out into what would be what is right now just an alleyway, if you will, and put the stairwell and the elevator in a small addition, you might free up some space in here to make the program work.
And follow on, I'm going to presume the answer is yes, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Does the design engineer have an ergonomics person working on this?
I will double check that. I don't know.
Human factors engineer? And that goes along with my next question is, what are type of seating are you looking at? The way it's described, it looks like you've got folding seats that you put out there. My guess is if we don't have comfortable seats, this isn't going to be as enticing as one would like.
I'll defer to Alderman Cleave on this specific issue, because I know it's near and dear to her.
Alderman Clay, would you like to
Okay,
respond?
two things. One is if you go to the next level, Director Cummings, if you go to the next level, there's more elevators. So you'll see right there, you'll see towards the front of the house, there's a stairwell and an elevator. So that other additional elevator they're talking about there, that would also be to help for the back of the stage and people, but also coming in from that entrance. But there's also an elevator there that goes all the way up to the top. And yes, as far as the seating is concerned, that has been right in the forefront in the talk about it. So the retractable seating that you see there, that's exactly what it is. It's retractable. They look like individual seats that go in there, and I've really been doing a lot of looking on it. And they're very comfortable from what people are saying. And there are different levels of them. We would not go with the cheapest, and we probably won't go with the nice kind of reclining, kind of feel like you're in your own home kind of thing. But we would be going with very comfortable seating on that.
So if I may, just to follow on with those comments, Madam President, we have done a lot of work in due diligence studying the Performing Arts Center, and the feedback we got from various operators and venues that we visited was there's a few key areas where you want to make sure you spend your money. Seating is one of them, and so that message has been heard loud and clear by our group, and we want to make sure we have comfortable seats for everyone to enjoy.
Alderwoman Kelly.
Thank you. I wanted to say thank you. I know that this is extra work that you do to bring us this update and take our questions. To that end, I was hoping that we could possibly get this information a little bit before the meeting so that we can absorb it and then be a little bit more thoughtful in our questions and knowing what's going on. Great. Thank you.
Okay, all set. All right. So do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion is to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned at 7:27. Give you a 3-minute break.